All right, welcome back, everybody, to Forgotten Working Class Podcast. I'm your host, John, and today we have Cory Rockwell with us. How you doing, Cory?
Not too bad, man. How you doing?
Not bad. Where are you calling from?
Currently, I'm in Reno, Nevada.
All right. How's the weather there?
Not bad. It's starting to get a little chilly in the morning, but almost to the point where you want to wear a hoodie in the morning, but during the daytime, it's still in the 80s, 90s.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, South Florida, there's no hoodie weather right now. It's too hot. Way too hot.
I've never been to Florida. I'd like to visit there one day.
It's nice. It's just hot and humid. Always.
That's what I hear. And I got to be honest. I don't know if I'd like living in a town where my chances of being eaten by an anaconda or an alligator.
It's not. It's not.
I mean, for people like me who have never been there, just the stuff I see online makes me think it's like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't go swimming. That's about it. I mean, just don't go swimming. So, you have kids? Are you married?
I do. I used to be married. I was married to my son's mom. I have one son. He's 9 years old. His name is Trayson. Just real quick, if you can see this, this is the first time he wrote his name.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, so that's exactly how I wrote it.
That's awesome.
I think that's a dinosaur he drew or something, but yeah. So he's my only guy. He's 9, and me and his mom were married for about 5 years. Got divorced maybe like 7 years ago. So I've just been a single dad ever since then.
And I have seen that you guys have pretty close to matching street bikes.
Yeah, we do.
I've seen that and I was like, oh, that is amazing. I was big in motorcycles. I love it. To see you guys have matching bikes, I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I went through your typical midlife crisis about 6 years ago, and never rode a street bike in my life. Never rode a dirt bike. I taught myself how to ride on YouTube. I quit one job to go to a new job, so I took out like $5,000 out of my 401k from that job, which allowed me to be able to get the bike. And I told the guy, hey, I don't know how to ride. Can you deliver it? And I'll give you a ride home. He was like, sure, no problem. So after I got back home, after dropping him off, I just slowly started learning how to ride in my little cul-de-sac there with YouTube, and, super got into it. And then as my son started to get older, he was kind of gaining an interest in bikes. So I bought him a little electric bike, and it just so happened the bike was blue and white, like my blue and white street bike. So I went on eBay and I bought a bunch of the, Gixxer stickers and Suzuki stickers and just made it look almost identical to mine.
Yeah, I seen it. It was dope. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And as he gets older, now he's got a gas bike, it's still a small bike, but it's gas powered now. It's basically like a real motorcycle. It's just automatic and small. But as he gets bigger, his bikes will start to get bigger.
Yeah. That's so cool. All right, so tell us, what do you do?
I work in mining, underground mining. I started off in open pit mining, and then got the underground bug, went underground. I've been mining for about 14 years now, surface and underground.
All right, so I did surface mining. I know all about that. I have no information, no knowledge about underground. So I'm very, very curious. What is the big difference? Like, top to bottom, what do you think is better? Surface or underground? What have you had more joy doing?
Oh, 100% underground. And I love the surface too. The people were great. I love the work. But underground, I just feel like it's just fun. I mean, half the time I'm down there, I have to remind myself, oh, I'm at work right now. Like, I'm just having so much fun. And there's, in underground mining, you got a bunch of different positions you could do. You could be a haul truck driver, mucker operator, a nipper, bolter. There's not a single job down there that I dread doing that is not fun. Like, every job is just fun. And it's almost like I'm getting paid to go have fun every day. And
that's awesome. Yeah, that's the way you want it. I mean, I loved what I did. I really did. It was a love and hate sometimes. I mean, you have those days that you're like, I can't stand this place. I hate everyone here. And then in the morning when you get there, you're like, God, I love my job.
Yeah.
I seen you guys singing in the haul truck. That killed me because I've seen the video you singing in the haul truck, your coworker.
Yeah.
And then another one, I believe, was like in a break room that you were singing.
Yeah. I got a couple of videos. Believe it or not, there's a lot of singing that goes on down there.
That's how it was. Yep, that's how it was at the pit. I mean, it was just goofing around. I mean, you got the job done, but yeah, there was
Oh yeah,
singing and playing, and it was a lot of fun.
yeah.
We had a good time.
I don't want to work for a place where you can't do that because, and I mean, like at the last mine I worked at, once you've been at a place for a while and you establish your reputation and your work ethic and your bosses know you and stuff, like I would have no problem taking a cat nap if I knew I had time to take a cat nap. And one time I was in a break room with a new guy. It wasn't even a break room. It was what we call the rock pick room. And we had time to kill. So I kicked my feet up and I start to nap. And then we hear the door open and he panics, like, oh, yeah, someone's coming. And I'm like, don't worry about it, man. Because no matter who's coming through that door, they know I'm a good worker and they know that like I'm only napping because I can nap. You know what I mean? So, but basically what I'm getting at is you can still F off and get your job done.
Yeah, if you're good at your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't suck at your job and then think you can just screw around. That's not
exactly.
gonna happen.
Yeah, and like I tell some of these newer guys, you can't take a cat nap. You can't be seen taking a cat nap your first week on the job. It takes a while to get to that point.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a good choice.
Yeah.
So I seen that you guys I seen the video where you are chipping away at the wall in the ceiling of the I don't know what you would call it, underground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so pretty much they're called drifts or headings.
Okay.
But pretty much they're tunnels. And that's what I usually say on TikTok because on TikTok, a lot of people don't know the terminology. So if I say the rib, they don't know what I'm talking about, but a rib is a wall. So I'll usually say wall or, roof. But yeah, so pretty much it's just a tunnel.
So yeah, those rocks that you're chipping away, the wall and all that, that looks extremely dangerous.
I mean,
I seen that you had like a chicken wire mesh that you guys put up to prevent it from falling.
Yeah, so pretty much the mesh is there to protect you from like small rocks that will fall off, and then the bolts. We have a 8-foot. They're called 8-foot Swellex ground support bolts. So you put the wire up and then you bolt it, and the bolt is what like compacts and holds the actual ground.
Okay.
So you can't really have one without the other. You got to have both because you could technically just put bolts in, but then you're always going to have just little rocks that are falling and one might hit somebody. So pretty much the mesh is for small rocks and the bolts are for the actual ground. But as we advance the tunnel, we have to advance all that wire and bolts and stuff.
All right. Gotcha. Now, I also seen that you guys do spraying concrete under there.
Yeah. Yes. So we call it
tell me about that.
We call it a shotcrete. It's pretty much a type of concrete, and we don't use it everywhere. In a development heading, which we're actively mining, we won't shotcrete because what we do is called cut and fill mining, right? So you cut out what you want. You follow the ore, you get all the ore, and then once you get all the ore out, we backfill it with cement, pretty much, and then that allows us to be able to do another tunnel underneath it, or above it, or to the side of it. But so shotcrete is pretty much a second line of defense for permanent areas. If it's like a permanent road or like the mechanic shop, anywhere there's going to be miners permanently, they will put the wire up, bolt it, and shotcrete it just to give it that kind of extra, layer of protection.
So when you say that you guys backfill, do you backfill the whole tunnel?
Yeah.
Fill it in.
Yeah. So if you just picture a wall, let's say that ore body is a mile long. So you will just continuously, chip away. Once you get to the end of that ore body and you got all that dirt out, now we have what's called a backfill plant where haul trucks will pull underneath the hopper, I guess. I'm not sure what it's called. But then from the surface, they have like a cement plant and it'll drop backfill, which is basically cement into the truck. And then the trucks will go to the heading, back into the heading, dump their backfill, and then leave. And then maybe 3 trucks will dump. And then we have what's called jammers, which is basically something that will go in there and push it and compact it and jam it. And then we just keep on doing that until it gets all the way to the end. And then that's done.
That's wild.
Yeah. If you really think about it, there's a lot of money that goes into getting money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's going to be a process too, because you think about it, the haul trucks. So those are underground haul trucks.
Yeah.
And I seen that you had a video that killed me because I've seen multiple of those haul trucks flip over. And you had a video saying when you're underground driving haul truck and you have to go to the surface, this is what happens. And he backed all the way up and tried to dump and just flipped the whole body over.
Yeah.
And now those have pushers, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Push the
So,
material out.
yeah. So, see, the thing is, when you're underground in the underground haul trucks, you have what's called a push plate, and because there's not enough room to dump it like a dump truck,
Yeah.
so you push it out, and then you bring your bed back in, and then you go get another load. So when you're driving an underground haul truck for a while, you're used to just, you want to. So when you got a pile and you want to go dump on that pile, you want to ride up the pile a little bit to make the dozer operator's job a little bit easier.
Gotcha.
So when you're underground, you're used to climbing the pile, and you know you got a push plate. But every once in a while, they might be like, "Hey, can you go drive a surface truck for the day?" We had a guy calling. Yeah, no problem. Well, you've been driving underground trucks for the past 6 years. You forget. Oh shoot, I don't have a push plate. This goes up, and when your bed goes up, you can't climb the pile like that because it'll just throw you off balance, and that's essentially what happens.
So with the whole, with the backfilling the tunnels, those trucks, do you have to, like, every time they haul concrete in, do they have to wash them out immediately?
No, not in between loads, but pretty much at the end of the day, or after your last load, whenever that load is. So it's important for the haul truck drivers to use time management, because you have to, let's say that you took longer than expected and everybody's leaving and you didn't get time to wash it out. You're going to be late. You have to wash it out.
Yeah.
And it's not like an hour-long process. It's quick, but it's just you have to, because that stuff does dry pretty quick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that, if they're hauling it back and forth and if it starts to dry, well, that's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, and we've had cases where like a haul truck would be loaded with backfill and the haul truck dies and it's just like stuck there and it eventually hardens. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to get a bolter, and the bolter is the machine that bolts the wire and the bolts to the rib. So we got to get the bolter, or I suppose a jumbo could do it, but pretty much you got to get behind the haul truck and then you got to like drill, and when you drill it, it kind of like breaks it up a little bit, and they just drill enough holes to where they can push all that hardened concrete out or cement out, and then a mucker will come and pick it up and just get rid of it.
Crazy. So we're on the subject of equipment. What kind of equipment do you guys use underground? I know you guys have the haul truck. You mentioned dozer. I know a lot of that equipment's definitely way different from surface equipment.
Depending on the mine, some underground mines are actually fairly big. I've never seen one that was this big, but supposedly people have told me that they have underground mines where they have full on, Cat 777 100-ton haul trucks down there. And I can't even imagine an underground mine that big, but in all the mines I've worked at here in Northern Nevada, they're all small, like 30-ton haul trucks. But for the most part, you've got, 30-ton, maybe 45-ton, 20-ton, just depends on the mine and the dimensions of the tunnels. But so you got haul trucks, you got loaders, dozers, a little miniature blade, which is pretty much like half the size of what you would be used to on a surface, like a surface blade. And we actually do have a surface blade underground, but it can only be used in certain areas. It can't go in different parts of the mine, because the mine was designed for 20-ton haul trucks in the beginning, but then as time went on, they wanted to get 30-ton haul trucks. So the tunnels were small in the begining, and then they got bigger and bigger. So our equipment started to get bigger and bigger, but it can't go everywhere. But so we do have an actual surface size blade underground, and then we have what's called a remix. A remix truck is basically, those cement trucks that, I don't know what it's called, but the thing that rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we pretty much have those, just a miniature version of it. And those are for the shotcrete. So the shotcrete is being sprayed from what's called a spray mech or a sprayer. And then the remix, and I have a video on it, the remix backs up to the sprayer, and then the remix operator just keeps it turning and keeps his hopper full with backfill. And then that remix is basically supplying that spray mech to spray all the ribs and stuff.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So different.
Oh yeah. It's
Different world.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And
Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like I said, I started off on the surface. I worked surface for I think six, maybe 7 years, and working on the surface, you would always hear rumors about like underground miners and underground mining and what it's like. It's dangerous. They make a lot of money, but it was just something I didn't know about. But I just got bit by the bug one day and I wanted to try it, and I'm super grateful I did, because I honestly love underground. I would go back to the surface if I had to, but it wouldn't be my first choice.
Yeah. What's the environment like under there? What's your temperature? I mean, you're not getting any rain, so that's nice. You're not getting beat on the sun.
Technically, I guess you could say it does rain in some headings because there's so much water underground. Again, it depends. Most of my experience is just mining in Nevada and Alaska, but some areas can be. I can't even tell you what the temperature is. I know it's got to be north of 120 degrees, but some headings are so hot, and it's not the whole mine. For the most part, the majority of the mine is comfortable. You might have just a few areas that are super hot or super cold, and it would only be cold because it might be closer to a fan that's blowing in, cold air from the surface. But I've worked in headings that are so hot, you literally physically can't work more than 5 minutes at a time. And if you even hit 5 minutes, that's pretty good. And then you got to go sit in an air-conditioned cab for at least 20 minutes. And then, you take a 20-minute break, you get out. By the time you walk to the back of the truck to go work, you're already just, like panting, and, so you might be able to work for a couple of minutes, then you got to go back in. But that's rare. That's not common. But it can happen. But
God.
yeah,
That would suck terribly.
No, big time. I lost a lot of weight at that one particular mine I worked at, because I was loading rounds, which is basically filling all the drill holes with explosives so we could advance the tunnel. And yeah, you have to drink a lot of water, a lot of pickle juice. I stopped drinking energy drinks and Red Bull. I stopped drinking alcohol, after work, because all that stuff will catch up to you the next day in those hot headings.
Why do you drink pickle juice?
Just pickle juice helps because when you get dehydrated, you can get cramps and stuff. So it's pretty common for underground miners in a hot heading to or just in a hot mine to sip on pickle juice throughout the day. It just helps, keep you safe, keep you hydrated and from getting cramps and stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pickle juice and water is a lifesaver for sure.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. So I know you said that in some of those places you have air being pushed down in there by the fans. I did see on your TikTok that you were describing that the airbags, if they're flat, that's a big problem.
If it's flat when it shouldn't be flat, that's a problem. But there are some headings where they're just not really active and there's no reason to have fresh air going in them. But usually those headings will be, you'll have signage, you'll have a blockade saying, inactive heading. But there's certain vent bags, once you get to learn your mine, you get to learn the airflow, and what's normal, what's not normal, what should be on, but doesn't have to be on. But if you see one of those mainline vent bags on like a main road flat, then that means something's going on. You got to figure it out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I seen that if you lose power down there too, that you can't get out unless the generators are on.
In a shaft mine, yes, you can't get out. So you've got two types of underground mines. What's that?
That's terrifying.
No, it is. It is. I think about it all the time. But so in underground mining, you have a shaft mine, which is basically an elevator that takes you from the surface to the bottom of the mine, or whatever level you want to go to. And then you have what's called a portal mine. And a portal mine, you can drive in, drive out, walk in, walk out. It's basically just a tunnel that starts at the surface and takes you in there.
Okay.
So in a portal mine, obviously, you can just walk out anytime you want to. You don't need electricity. But in a shaft mine, you depend on electricity to power your elevator, your cage, to get you up and down. So when we have a power outage, we have to, they have backup plans. Of course, they've got generators on the surface and stuff like that. But something that always kind of freaked me out is I was thinking, man, if we ever get hit with like a solar flare or like an EMP or something, and it fries the generators and stuff, we have no physical way to get out.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Yes. People ask me, do you have like a ladder that will take you all the way out? And no, we don't. We have what's called an escape raise, which will take you from one level of the mine to another, or and then from that level to another level. But we don't have one escape raise that will take you all the way out. So we need electricity to be able to get us out. And if we don't have electricity, we're not getting out.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that, these jobs, the risks that come with it is terrifying.
Yeah. Underground mining is not as dangerous as a lot of people think. It definitely isn't an office job. Obviously it's got risks and, dangers, but, that's one of the reasons I started to make videos. And luckily I had a coal mine manager who let me make videos. I've had a couple coal mine managers let me make videos, but I've had people ask me, where do you keep the donkeys? Do you still use blue canaries? Because unless you grow up in or around a mining town, chances are you don't know anything about it. I didn't when I was growing up in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
If you asked me where my vape was made, I'd say, I don't know, maybe it was grown in a field or something. Like, I have no idea. Like, subconsciously I knew, yeah, there's mining, but you don't know anything about it. And people think we're still just down there with pickaxes, and just children miners and, blue canaries. And, it's just not like that anymore.
You're down there pushing your wheelbarrows and everything.
Yeah. It's honestly, I've had people say, gold mining can turn a man lazy because there's not a lot of super physical jobs down there. It's all automated now. Now you will have some mines that are more physical because of the way they're mining. If they're jackleg mining, that's rougher on you than, using joysticks and a bolter or a jumbo. But I tell a lot of kids, if you're good at video games, you can do a lot of jobs down there. A lot of jobs are just with your hands and joysticks and stuff like that, buttons.
So you said earlier, and I've seen your videos of you doing some blasting. That was pretty cool. I actually did drilling and blasting for the surface. Mm-hmm. I did that for a little bit, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, blowing shit up. As a guy, it was a dream come true. I mean, I get to dig holes and blow it up. I'm about it.
Oh, I love it.
Your video was definitely cool, and I was pretty shocked because how close you were to the shot. When we did it, we had to drive like a half mile back. Then you could do the shot. You were like right there, and I was like, that's a badass video because how close you were. You see the whole shot right behind you.
Yeah. So in underground mining, a lot of times on the surface, as that debris and rock can go out a mile, but underground, those shots, they don't go up, they go out. It shoots out like a bullet. And underground, we have a lot of tunnels like S-turns and stuff like that. So you can be legally closer to a shot. So, but you're still a safe distance away. You'll hear it, you'll feel it, you just feel that shock wave hit you. It appears that we're pretty close, but we're at the distance away that we're supposed to be, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that debris, it's not going to shoot out and do all these S-turns. It shoots out, it hits the walls, and it doesn't really shoot out that far.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see that one because I mean, like I said, when we would do the shot, you'd see the shot, but you weren't that close.
Yeah,
it was definitely cool. I see you use emulsion too, right?
Yeah, depending on the mine, I've worked at mines where so you either have emulsion, which is no, I have a hard time pronouncing this, ammonium nitrate and diesel fuel mixture.
Yeah, it looks almost like a marshmallow mixed with styrofoam kind of deal.
Yeah, so if you just picture a pudding with a bunch of little like tiny styrofoam balls, that's emulsion. and it's super explosive. And then we have what's called AMPHO or Purell, which is the same thing. It's just not liquid. Rather than have that pudding, it's just a little styrofoam balls pretty much. And then we have stick powder, which is pretty much like your typical kind of TNT type looking thing.
So the emulsion you use now, the stuff we used when I did drilling and blasting, you could put a flame to it, and it wouldn't do anything. You had to, use the electric. You had to use the boosters and your blasting caps to set it off. It had to be electrical. I don't know. Is that the same stuff that you have? If you put a flame to it, it won't ignite.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it is. I've obviously never tried, but
they showed me we're on the surface. I mean, they were like, check it out, and they put a little bit down, and I was like, it doesn't. The stuff it's, explosives doesn't blow up, and they're like, no, it has to be electrical.
Yeah, I think most stuff nowadays you need an electronic detonator to blow that stuff up. I mean, that's really not a question I ever really asked, but I bet you it's the same deal, because a lot of the explosives that we use in the United States, they all kind of come from one of a few places, and I think they all kind of have the same recipe pretty much.
Yeah. So what are you mining for in Nevada?
So Nevada is known as the silver state, but we've got so much stuff out here. Gold, silver, copper, uranium, lithium. A lot of people don't realize this, but Nevada has, right now, we know to be the world's second largest lithium deposit in a small town called Orovada, Nevada, which is about an hour north of Winnemucca, Nevada. We know for sure it's at least the second largest in the world. Possibly, as they do more exploration drilling, they're finding more and more. It could potentially be the world's largest lithium deposit. So we've got that in Nevada. Like I said, uranium. I don't think we have any active tungsten mines, but we have had some tungsten mines in the past. Like I said, Nevada's known as the silver state, but we've got more of other stuff than silver here, I think.
So go ahead.
I would say the majority of the mining out here is gold mining, though.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I know that I've seen that you did go to Alaska, and you said it earlier, and I seen that when you went to Alaska, you went for gold, right?
The first time I went to Alaska was silver. I'm still kind of new to the whole Alaskan mining thing. It's something I always wanted to try. I'm heading back out there Sunday. I'll be working at a silver mine out there, but I think most of the mines out there are primarily silver, but you do have, gold out there as well.
So are those underground too?
Yes and no. So, and what I mean by that is a lot of the mines out there are on an island in Alaska. Okay. So like you fly into Fairbanks or you fly into Juneau, and then you got to get a ride to the dock, and then you take a boat ride. The company has a boat that takes you out to the island. And on a lot of those islands, you can't really go that deep because you're on an island. You're going to hit water. Yeah. So a lot of them, it's technically underground, but it's in a mountain. You know what I mean? Like they're not shaft mines that take you underground. They're portal mines, and
so you're going into the mountain.
Yeah. So you're pretty much going into the mountain, and then maybe going down a little bit, but you're not going like a mile down like a shaft mine.
Okay, that's pretty dope.
So you're still technically underground, but you're under a mountain ground, not ground.
Oh yeah, I've only done it underground one time, and it was not for mining. It was in Tennessee for Ruby Falls. It's a underground waterfall. And it's like 1,200 feet underground. You take an elevator down, and then you do the tour, and that was badass. I loved it. It was like really cool. I mean, just to walk through it and everything. And then at the end of the tour, there's a huge waterfall that is underground. So it was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to look that up after this.
Yeah, Ruby Falls.
Ruby Falls. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
That was dope.
That sounds pretty neat. Yeah, that's something I would like.
Yeah, that's the only time we went underground. I was like, this is pretty badass. It was nice and cool under here. Get used to that.
Yeah, it's nice. And working underground, depending on the time of year, you can go a long time not seeing the sun, especially during the wintertime. So I always make it a point to lay out in the sun, and I try to get as much sun as I can. Like being out of work for the past couple months, I've been soaking up that sun as much as I can. because a lot of underground miners can be prone to depression just because of the lack of, sunlight. And
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so that's something that I try to stress a lot to people is, if you're like me and you're working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off during the, depending on the time of the year, you may not see sunlight for 2 weeks. So on days off, I try to get people to, or at least plant a seed in their head, like get outside, get some sun,
Yeah. Yeah. You got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. For your shifts, you're 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. What are your hours like every day?
Pretty much 12 to 13 hours. And that's
Okay.
pretty typical with most underground mines. Um, that doesn't include drive time. A lot of mines, at the minimum, is going to be at least an hour from town. So you're looking at a 12-hour day with a 2-hour commute. Some mines, 12-hour day with a 3-hour commute, 4-hour commute. It just depends on the mine and the company. A lot of mining companies charter buses. So, like, for instance, in Winnemucca, the company will have employee parking lots. So you drive the couple minutes from your house to the parking lot, and then you hop on a bus, and then you just relax and take a nap until you get to the mine. Then you work a 12-hour day, and then get back on the bus, take a nap on the way home. So it's not like you're the one driving. You get to relax and take a nap.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
That's that's really awesome that the company provides that.
yeah, and
Great.
and especially for bigger mines that have 100, 200 employees a day, that's a lot of 200 extra cars on the road. Because people have asked me before, what's the most dangerous part of underground mining, and I made a video on it. Driving to work is the most dangerous part of mining. Driving home after work is the most dangerous part of mining, because more miners have been hurt or killed driving to or from work in their personal vehicles than at work. So it's definitely, once a mine gets to a certain size, I think they all typically will try to go with buses just to get all those cars off the road.
That's it's a great idea. I mean, very good. Like, yeah, you think about it, you get off a 13-hour. I mean, when I did it, I did the same thing. It's either 12 to 13, 14 hours that day. And when you get in your car and you go drive home, you're exhausted.
Oh yeah.
You're done. You're done for the day. It's over. And then you have to get back up. My shift was 1 a.m. So you're done. You're beat. It's
Yeah.
over. You're ready to go home. And then on the way home, you're half asleep. It's dangerous. So for them to provide buses to bring you to your car and it being a shorter route home, that's awesome.
Yeah. And those bus drivers are well rested. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't just spend a 12, 13-hour shift underground.
Yeah, they're done. They're ready. They're good. So I did see on your videos that you guys have, for safety wise, there's two things I want to talk to you about. And that was the safety chambers. Your is that what you call them?
They're primarily called refuge chambers, but I've heard them referred to as safety chambers as well.
Yeah. So tell me about those, because I mean, once again, I know nothing about underground mining. So, but to see those and your video on it, that was pretty cool. That it holds how much food and all that. What's the preparations for that?
So a refuge chamber is, for anybody listening who may not have seen the videos, pretty much just picture like a high-tech, like Connex or shipping container. They're scattered throughout the mine. Per MSHA, legally you have to have one, like per a certain amount of distance. So as a mine continues to grow, you have to get another one in or move one around. But pretty much it's a refuge chamber for us to go to in an emergency. When you work underground, our biggest threat is fire and cave-ins. And fire is actually a bigger threat than cave-ins, because you've got all that heavy equipment running around. It's hot. Fires can start. And once a fire starts, you get that smoke. And the tunnels, they're small tunnels. They're shooting air everywhere. So that smoke travels fast. So in an emergency, your number one goal is to get out of the mine. And depending on where you're working and where the emergency is at, you can oftentimes do that. But then if you're at a lower part of the mine or a different part, and your mine's airflow. So like, let's say, for example, somebody calls an emergency and says there's a fire at, level 12. So, okay, if the fire's at level 12, I can't get out. So I need to go this way and get to refuge. Or if you're above, level 12, okay, I can get out. It's below me. So that's why it's important to learn your airflow and where the air flows, the levels, stuff like that. But so pretty much, if you can't get out of the mine, you want to get to a refuge chamber. They seat 12 people, but you can cram as many people as you can physically fit in there if you had to. I mean, obviously, we're not going to turn anybody away because there's not an open seat.
Yeah.
But I've had emergencies and drills happen where I was the only person in that refuge chamber. And then there was one time in particular, there was like 23 of us in there. And it's pretty much a safe place to ride out the storm. They have, I think, 4 days worth of food. And each refuge chamber has a water line and an air line going to it. So long as those air and water lines aren't, destroyed in a collapse or something, you have unlimited air and water. So you're good.
Oh, wow.
But if for some reason there are, all those air and water lines are a heavy duty plastic, they can burn and melt. So if there was a haul truck that caught fire underneath a air and water line, it could, interrupt that line to that refuge chamber. And in that case, you've got 4 days of water, and we have oxygen candles. We have oxygen down there, but I forget exactly how long they last, but it's not long. It's less than a week. So if your air and water lines are cut off, you've got less than a week to breathe, to be rescued.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The longest I've ever been in one in an actual emergency was about 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
So, but I mean, that's nothing compared to some of the old timers I've talked to. I mean, you got some guys who have been in there for, 2 days, maybe 14 hours, it just depends.
So speaking of old timers, I seen you did a video. It says when you talk back to an old school miner.
Oh, yeah.
That video killed me because the way I was taught was from an old school miner, and that is exactly how it goes. They don't take shit from nobody. And I mean, they will cuss you up and down. They will drag you through the mud, but the amount of knowledge you get from them is incredible. I mean, everything that I know from what I did, I got from this man, and he was amazing, but he was a hard ass. I mean, you're working for an old school dude, and he did everything the old school way. He didn't care what your feelings were, nothing. He let you have it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but they're a dying breed.
Yeah.
I considered myself at the time, I was hating life and I hated his guts. And like, I didn't like going to work because I knew I was going to get yelled at or hit in the head with a wrap wrench, or I knew something was going to happen that day. But looking back, I'm grateful that I got to learn under this guy. And there's just not too many of them left. And like you said, they come off hard, and they'll yell, they'll cuss. Like I said, literally, I've been hitting the head with a wrap wrench, not like trying to kill me, but, hey, wake up.
Yeah. Tighten up.
Yeah. Yeah. And, nowadays people will take you to HR if you sneeze in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I consider myself fortunate because like they're a hard ass. They're yelling, they're cussing, maybe borderline assaulting you from time to time, but they care about you and they do love you and they want to keep you safe. It's just these old timers don't really show it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people that sometimes you need that. You need somebody to. I mean, nowadays you're 100% right. You get yelled at. These kids are going to HR. Well, if someone old school miner screams at you and you're down there, I bet you're not going to do that again. Whatever you did.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna learn that first time, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah. And I like to think most the people who do work underground, underground is pretty good about weeding out the people who don't belong there. For the most part, I would say the overwhelming majority of people who work underground, they like being underground and they want to be there. Like I said, the people who you don't really want down there, they'll weed themselves out. You don't have to worry about it. And nothing against them. It's just it's not for everybody. But I like to think that the type of person or type of personality who is underground, they do have that level of toughness to where they can take an old school miner. It's I say people will take it to HR, and that's true in some cases, but it's not like rampant. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. You might have that occasional snowflake who just graduated high school who wants to give it a shot, and they're the ones who get offended or get their feelings hurt. But for the most part, I mean, most guys have pretty thick skin down there.
Yeah, he ain't got thin skin.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, if you get upset and lose sleep over a joke or being called an idiot or something like that, you shouldn't be underground.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't be in the blue collar industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been called quite a few names at certain times underground. And if you stop and think about it, I'm like, I deserved it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, you get screamed at, believe me, you're gonna look. All right, I'm not gonna do what I just did ever again because I don't feel like getting cussed up and down again. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. If I could share a quick story real quick. When I was in my first year underground, I was driving a haul truck, and I had been there long enough to where I knew everybody. We were pretty close, but I was driving a haul truck, and I don't recommend doing this. Like we have Wi-Fi underground, so like you can text people, you can but so
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super
You have
cool.
Wi-Fi underground. That's pretty dope.
Oh yeah, we can. Depending on what you're doing for the day, if you have downtime, you can pay bills, you can watch movies, you can go on Facebook. I mean, I'll upload TikToks underground. So one time I was loading under a mucker, and it got to the point where we're like, and you shouldn't do this. I should not have been doing this, but I was on my phone while I'm backing up underneath them, and it was just like it was so robotic. I haven't been doing it for so long. It's almost like I was just an autopilot, and nobody was at risk of getting hurt or anything. I was kind of like, going through my phone as I'm backing under, and he saw that, and he slams the bucket down on my truck. I'm like, oh fuck, what happened? And then he gets out, and I'm, oh shit. He gets to my truck, he opens my door, and he just starts cussing. And I love the guy. His name was Rick. He just started cussing and yelling. He goes, "Let me see your phone." And he throws my phone. He threw it against the rib, and he said, "I don't want to see you F and touch that thing again until I'm done loading you." So, but yeah, like I deserve that. I didn't bitch or complain about that. Like I should not have been doing that.
Yeah, a guy I used to learn from. He used to tell you, don't drink any more water than you can sweat out today because we ain't got time to piss. And that was like, oh, okay. I guess that we're not taking no breaks today. Get to work.
I can see that. Luckily, underground sometimes it can be so hot that you can drink, a gallon and realize that you haven't pissed in 12 hours.
Yeah, sweating it all out.
Yeah.
So on the safety side again, I seen that you carry, which I believe I could be wrong. You called them a self-rescuer.
Yeah.
And you carried that on your hip. In your video, you didn't show what's in it or what it does, and I was dying because I was like, "What is this?" You have to explain what is in it. What does it consist of?
I do have a couple of videos earlier on, like at the bottom of my page. I got a couple of videos on them. Actually, one of my first videos to go viral was a self-rescuer video. So pretty much those are required to be on you at all times. If you're a mechanic and you got to get under a piece of equipment or something, you're allowed to take it off because sometimes it could get in the way.
Yeah.
In tight spots. So you're allowed to take it off, but it has to be within like a certain footage of you at all times. Otherwise you can get in trouble. But so pretty much, so like I said, our biggest threat underground is fire, or the smoke that comes from the fire, and the carbon monoxide. So a self-rescuer it doesn't produce air, but what it does is it filters that smoke or carbon monoxide into breathable air. So it converts carbon dioxide into a non-toxic carbon dioxide. No, it converts carbon monoxide into a non-toxic carbon dioxide, so you can breathe. So pretty much a self-rescuer is an hour of air in smoke. So if there's a fire and I can't get out of them, or if I have to go through smoke to get to safety, I can. A self-rescuer is basically, I don't know what to compare it to in size. Maybe just the size of a couple of your fists put together, kind of like a soda can type thing. You pop the top, and then the top comes off, and you got a piece that goes over your nose to plug your nose, and then you got a piece that goes in your mouth, and a piece that goes over your head, so you don't have to hold it. And it's basically just a way. It gives you an extra hour of air if you got to go through smoke to get to a refuge chamber or get out of the mine. So it's basically an hour of life, pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and those are required in all mines. Some mines have different versions of it, but what we have is called a W65 self rescuer. If anybody wants to Google it, but yeah, it's definitely needed down there.
Also, so I see you also do a lot of lamp signals.
Yeah. Cap lamp signals.
Yeah, you guys use those like all the time? Is it you?
Yeah. Quite often, a lot of times, if you can use a radio, you use a radio. But there's so much traffic on the radio. Like for instance, if I'm on foot and I need to, let's say, direct a haul truck driver, back up. If I need to help him back up, you could take off your hard hat because you don't want to like shine their backup camera because
Yeah.
you can't see your signals. They just see light. So you'll take off your hard hat or you just take off your cap lamp and you point it at the ground, and through their backup camera, they can see at the ground. So if they see a circle, that means keep coming towards me. If they see me go left to right, that means stop. Or if they see me go, up and down, that means like pull forward. So, and those signals have been around since like the 1900s, when they had, when they first had cap lamps. So those three signals, there's mainly three signals we use. Come here or turn on. It can mean one or the other depending on what you're doing. Stop and back up or get out of here. And those three cap lamp signals, for the most part, are universal all around the world. I've always known them to be. There was only one guy from some country in Africa said they did it a little bit different, but for the most part, on every continent, on every mine site, it's those three cap lamp signals are universal.
That's cool. Some new information. I didn't know any of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What now I did see that your light is like ridiculously bright. What light do you use?
My light is from a company called Wisdom, and most mines will let you wear whatever you want to wear. A lot of mines, they have a cap lamp. They have their own special cap lamp from whatever company they choose to go with. They have a tracker in it. And some mines will make you wear their cap lamp because it has a tracker. I think for the most part, most companies, they want to be able to track you in case you get lost or if there's a cave in.
Yeah.
So a lot of mines, their trackers are in their cap lamp. Other mines, they don't care what kind of cap lamp you wear. Their tracker is in like a little pouch that you could put on your belt or something. But the mine I worked at, when I started off my underground mining career, you could wear whatever you wanted to, and you still can. So I just, there's not too many cap lamps out there on the market. There's just a handful of them. But Wisdom is probably, in my opinion, the best cap lamp out there. And I used Wisdom for years, and then eventually they caught wind of my channel, and then got a hold of me, and then they wanted to thank me for using their cap lamp, and I thanked them for making an awesome cap lamp, and then I ended up developing a relationship with them, and they would send me a bunch of cap lamps every once in a while to give out to people, and so they're a super awesome company. I really like them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't have any of the cap lamps like that. We just had the regular, headlamp, and then you put it onto your hard hat.
Yeah.
I didn't have the one that would just click on my hard hat because once again, I wasn't underground.
Yeah.
But I did work a lot of nights, so we were working in the dark.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, do you have any advice for anybody who is in the newer generations that would like to get into underground mining?
Like to get into it or advice if they're new into it?
Yeah, both.
Well,
if they're just starting out in it or they're interested in getting into it. What's your advice on it?
One thing I tell a lot of people is set your ego aside. Your ego can be your worst enemy. And a lot of kind of tougher, manly, blue collar jobs, people want to, be seen as a badass or, be seen as a know-it-all. You're never going to be a know-it-all. You're never going to know it all. And even if you do know it all, you don't go around telling people you know it all. Be humble, ask questions. I've seen new guys come in and a month later they think they're an expert and you have no advice to offer them. Don't don't be afraid to ask questions. You got to learn, put your ego aside. There's going to be times when you're wrong, and it sucks being wrong, but learn from it. Don't if you're not sure about something, ask. A lot of guys, like I said, their ego gets in the way. They don't want to be seen asking a question because they think it's like a sign of weakness, or they think they're going to get made fun of, or they are afraid that they're going to look like they don't know what they're doing. Put your damn ego aside and ask questions and learn something every day. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice I give people.
It's good advice because you're 100% true on that one. Most men don't want to ask for help or ask how to do something. You're right. You're starting off on a job. The first thing you want to make an impression. So you're not going to ask. You're just going to try and figure it out and do it. Well, you could get hurt doing it or do it the wrong way and get chewed out. So,
yeah.
It's better to ask.
Absolutely. There's been times where I would be in an area doing something I'm not used to doing. Here I am mining for years, 14 years. And let's say, there was one time in particular, I'm in an area, a batch plant with a guy who has been there like 6 months. And I went into it knowing, okay, this isn't my area of expertise. I don't know about batch plants. I'm not going to, I've been mining a decade longer than this guy. He's brand new, but he's been, I wasn't afraid to ask him a question like, hey man, what happens if I, turn this valve or, whatever, just because I had more experience and more seniority. I'm not going to go in there and act like I know what I'm doing when I don't,
Yeah. That's good. That's good advice. Keeps people safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Well, Cory, it was amazing to have you on here. Absolutely loved our conversation, and definitely we'll be keeping in touch. And thank you for coming on and being our guest.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate the opportunity, man. I really do. It's an honor. Everybody that's watching, if you liked our conversation, you liked our podcast, please like and subscribe to Forgotten Working Class Podcast. And we'll see you again. All right, man. Take care. Have a good one. Have a good one, man. All right. See you later.